Hi 5th graders, welcome to tonight's homework video. This is going to be our Chapter 11 homework review. This review will prepare us for our test that will take place tomorrow. So go ahead and grab a piece of notebook paper and be ready to work out your problems. It'll be designed like this. I will pose a question, you will read it with me, then you'll press pause and work it out on your own. And then we'll check to see if you got your answers correct. So let's get started. Question number 1 says, Mr. Diaz is building a fence around his yard. He drew a sketch of the fence line. Which best describes the fence line? Look at your 4 choices and then select the best option. Press pause now and write your answer down. Okay, for this answer, you should have picked B. It's a pentagon because it has 5 line segments. However, it's not a regular polygon because not all of my line segments are the same length and my angles are different. All right, let's move on. For question 2, it says Tim's bedroom is shaped like this quadrilateral. What type of a quadrilateral is it? Rectangle, square, rhombus, or a trapezoid? Press pause and write your answer down, and let's check it together. All right, boys and girls, for this one, you should have said that it was a rectangle. We know it's a rectangle because we've learned in class that a rectangle has 4 right angles, and it's a quadrilateral. We know it's not a square because for a square, boys and girls, it must have 4 right angles but also all equal sides. And we also know that it's not a rhombus because in order to be a rhombus, it's a quadrilateral with all equal sides. And we can totally see here that these are not equal. And of course, it's not a trapezoid either because a trapezoid only has 1 set of parallel lines. And we can see here that this is a parallelogram. It has 2 sets of parallel lines. Therefore, it's not a trapezoid either. So the best choice is A, a rectangle. For question 3, we have to remember about our triangles classification. This question says, what kind of triangle has exactly 2 congruent sides? Look at your 4 choices and press pause. Okay, boys and girls, if I were to try to sketch out as close as I can a triangle that has 2 congruent sides, I'm going to make 2 little marks here to show that I'm talking about these 2 that are congruent. And therefore, we know that if a triangle has 2 congruent sides, it is an isosceles triangle. So you should have picked letter B. All right, let's go on to number 4. Question number 4 says, Odessa made this solid figure. What solid figure did Odessa make? Remember, pay attention to the faces, and I want you to pay attention to the base. Go ahead and press pause and write down the name of this polyhedron. Okay, boys and girls, for this one, you should have said that we know it's in the pyramid family because I have all triangle faces that are lateral, and they come to 1 common vertex. So the second name is going to be a pyramid. Now let's decide what kind of pyramid it should have been. Well, let's look at our base. If you look at the base, I can see that it is a triangle. So I would call this a triangular pyramid. I hope that's what you have written down on your paper as well. Now, if you don't have a triangular pyramid, will you go ahead and write that down now and make sure yours is correct? All right, let's go on to question 5. Okay, boys and girls, for question number 5, it says, Amanda drew this triangle. Which of the following best classifies the triangle? Look at your 4 choices and press pause, and then we'll check our answers together. Okay, boys and girls, for this one, you should have noticed that all of my angles are acute, and all of my line segments look about the same length, so we're going to assume that this is an equilateral acute triangle, which you should have written down letter A. All right, let's go on to number 6. For number 6, I want you to write the letters A, B, and C on your paper, and then I want you to write the name of the curved surface next to each letter that belongs there. So go ahead and press pause now. Okay, boys and girls, for letter A, you should have the word sphere. For letter B, you should have the word cylinder. And for letter C, you should have the word cone. All right, let's go on to number 7. All right, friends, for number 7, please classify this solid figure. Make sure that you give it the name of the base shape and then what family does it belong to in the polyhedron family? Go ahead, press pause now, and write the name of this shape down, and let's check it together. Okay, boys and girls, for this question, you should have said that it's hexagonal prism. The reason why it's a hexagonal prism is because the base shape is a hexagon because there are 6 line segments, and then it's also a prism because the lateral faces are all rectangles. All right, let's go on to number 8. All right, for number 8 it says, Danielle drew 4 quadrilaterals. Which of the quadrilaterals that she drew is a regular polygon? Go ahead, press pause, write the name of the letter, and then let's check it together. Okay, boys and girls, you should have said C. And the reason why C is a regular polygon is because all of the line segments or sides are all congruent, and same with my angles. They're all right angles, and they're all the same angles, so they're congruent. Therefore, C is a regular polygon. For number 9, it says Jessica packed 1-inch cubes into a box with a volume of 144 cubic inches. That means there's 144 of these little cubes. How many layers of 1-inch cubes did Jessica make? So we're trying to figure out how many layers. Remember, this is 1 layer. We want to know how many total layers did she use. Using what you have here for a picture, I want you to figure that out, and we'll check it together. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, friends, for this question, first step, you need to figure out how many cubes are on your bottom layer. So when you count your length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, by your width, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can see I have 9 times 4 to find the area of the bottom layer. 9 times 4 I know is 36. So now that I know that there's 36 cubes on the bottom layer, I know, according to my story, it says that there's 144 cubic inches total for the whole rectangular prism. So because of that, we needed to do 144 cubes divided by 36, which is my bottom layer. That'll tell us how many layers that she'll actually have. And if you do your math, you would know that 36 can go into 144 4 whole times. And 4 times 36 is 144 when you multiply it out. So I know that she can have 4 layers to fill up this whole rectangular prism. So you should have said that there were 4 layers. I hope you were able to solve that one all on your own. Let's move on. Now for number 10, it says Barbie stacked small 1-inch cubes into a box until it was full. What's the volume of this box? Now remember, we learned in class that to find the volume of a rectangular prism, you need to do length times the width times the height. So go ahead and plug in these numbers into your formula, and let's see if you get your answer correct. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, friends, you should have done 8 for your length, 5 for your width, and 3 for your height. Now I'm going to use the associative property, and I'm going to group 8 and 5 together, which would give me 40, and then I could just multiply 40 times 3. And I know 40 times 3 is 120. So I would say that this rectangular prism has 120 cubic inches, and that looks like letter C right there. I hope that's what you got as well. Let's move on. For number 11, it says Stacy drew the trapezoid below. Which angles are congruent? Remember, the word congruent means equal. Go ahead and press pause and choose your answer. Okay, friends, letter A says A and B. Now, if you look up here, angle A is acute and angle B is obtuse. Therefore, we know A is not congruent. Let's look at C and D. C is obtuse. D is acute. Therefore, we know B is not congruent. Letter C says angles A and B. Let's look there. Angles A and B and C and D. Are they congruent? No, because A and B are obtuse and acute, and C and D are obtuse and acute. So we can cross that off. Now let's look at letter D. Angles A and D. Angles A is acute and D is acute. Those two are congruent. And angles B and C. Angle B is obtuse and C is obtuse. Therefore, we can choose D that shows that the angles are congruent. I hope your answer was correct. Let's go on. Okay, boys and girls, number 12 says, Will moved a box of old newspapers from the back room of the library. What is the volume of the box? Remember, we've learned that volume has a formula of length times width times the height. Go ahead and plug in your numbers to use this volume formula and find the volume of this box. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, friends, for this one, you should have said the length was 3 feet. The width was 2 feet, and the height was 5 feet. So I'm going to group 3 and 2 together using my associative property, and I'm going to say it's 6 times 5. Therefore, your volume should have been 30 cubic feet. Let's move on. For number 13, it doesn't give you a picture, but you have to use your clues to figure out what it's asking. So it says, Tom keeps sticky notes in a box that is the shape of a cube. Each side of the cube is 4 inches. What is the volume of the cube? Now in class, boys and girls, we've talked about what a cube is. A cube is a rectangular prism where there's squares for each face. So I'm going to try my best to draw a cube. There's my base. I'm going to make my height. And then the width, and this is why Mrs. Young is not an artist. Okay, so if you just sketch out a little cube, you can see that it's asking that each side is 4 inches. So I'm going to say my length is 4 inches, my width is 4 inches, and the height is 4 inches. So use your volume formula to solve this equation. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, friends, for this you should use the volume formula of length times your width times your height. Now we know that our length is 4 inches, our width is 4 inches, and our height is 4 inches. So if you use your associative property, you should have done 4 times 4, which is 16, and we're going to multiply 16 times 4. And if you work out 16 times 4, you will get 64. Now this is volume, so it's going to be cubic inches. All right, so you should have 64 cubic inches. All right, let's move on. For question 14, it says, the volume of a small jewelry box is 36 cubic centimeters. So we've already received the volume of a small jewelry box. We know it's 36 cubic centimeters. If a large box holds about 9 small jewelry boxes, let's estimate the volume of the large box. Now we already know each of the small boxes is 36 cubic centimeters, and we know that this large box holds about 9 of the small ones. So go ahead and find about how much the volume of the large box would be. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, boys and girls, you should have set this up as 36 times 9, and you're going to multiply your ones. 9 times 6 is 54. And then 9 times 3 tens is 27 tens. 27 plus 5 is 32. So we have the volume would be about 324 cubic centimeters. That would be the entire large box volume. All right, let's move on. All right, I really like number 15. It says Erin stores her photos in a box like the one shown below. Use the numbers and symbols on the tiles to write your formula that represents the volume of the box. Symbols may be used more than once or not at all. Go ahead and write out what the formula would be, and let's check it together. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, boys and girls, you should have said that the volume would equal 9, which is your length, times 8, which is your width, times 3, which is your height. 9 times 8 times 3. All right, let's move on. For number 16, it says, Mi Cha is making party hats. She starts by making one circular base, and then she makes one curved surface for the main part of the hat. What three-dimensional figure does she make? Go ahead and press pause now and pick your choice. Okay, boys and girls, for this one you should have said a cone, because remember, a cone has a circular base, and then it has one curved surface that comes to a vertex point. All right, let's move on. For number 7, it says Dave packed up all of his fishing equipment into a box with the dimensions shown. What is our volume of this box? Using our formula, volume equals length times width times height Please find the volume of this rectangular prism. Press pause now. All right, we should have plugged in that our length is 6 feet, our width is 1 foot, and our height is 2 feet. So now let's go ahead and choose the associative property to group two of our factors together. I'm going to group 1 and 2 together. 1 times 2 is 2, and let's bring down our 6. And 6 times 2 is 12. So we should have 12 cubic feet. You should have picked B for that one. All right, let's move on. Number 18 says, a toy chest in the shape of a rectangular prism has a volume of 8,640 cubic inches. So it's given us the volume already. The base area of the toy chest is 720 square inches. So what would be the height of the toy chest? So we're already told the volume, and we already know the base area, which is my length and my width, and we just need to find our height. Now our volume is 8,640 cubic inches. The base area is going to be my length times my width. And it tells us that that is going to be 720 square inches. So we just have to figure out what is our height. Go ahead and figure out 720 times your height would give you your volume of 8,640. So go ahead and press pause to figure out the height of this rectangular prism. Okay, boys and girls, so you should know that the opposite of multiplication is division. So your job was to divide 8,640 by 720. Now, I'm going to go ahead and press pause in case you want to work that out on your own now that I gave you a little hint. If you did get it right, go ahead and check along with me. Okay, for step 1, what you're going to do is you're going to divide 720 can go into 864 one time. When you subtract, you're going to have 144 left. Let's go ahead and bring down our 0. 720 I know goes into 1,440 two times. And 2 times 720 is exactly 1,440. So I would say that the height of this rectangular prism, or the toy chest, would be 12, and this is found in inches. So it would be 12 inches. Go ahead, and let's move on to our next question. All right, we finally made it to our last question, so I'm going to use my lightsaber as my pointer. It says, what is the volume of this composite figure? Now, a composite figure is where you have two different rectangular prisms that are combined together, and you just have to find the volume of rectangular prism 1 and rectangular prism 2. So go ahead and press pause now. Hey, wait a minute. Who is that? Pew, pew, pew. I guess my daughter came in to help me on my lesson. Pew. Pew. Get out of here. All right, go ahead and press pause now. So boys and girls, a composite figure is just two combined rectangular prisms, so you need to find the volume for rectangular prism A and B. Remember, to find the volume, it's going to be length times width times height. So go ahead and find the volume for rectangular prism A and rectangular prism B. So go ahead and work out each of those, combine the two together, and then pick your choice. Go ahead and press pause now. Okay, so for the volume of rectangular prism A, it's 2 times 2 times 4. So when you use the associative property and group 2 times 2 together, you'll get 4 times 10, which is 40 cubic inches. And for B, I'm going to do 9 times 5, which is 45, times the height of 1, which gives me still 45 cubic inches. Combining A's and B's together, 40 plus 45 is 85 cubic inches. You should have got the answer A for this choice. Okay, boys and girls, that concludes our lesson for our review for our test for tomorrow. Please make sure that you bring this paper that you worked on to class tomorrow to get your homework credit. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.